I set out to become the ultimate Jiu-Jitsu black belt. On my way to accomplishing this goal, I tested myself challenging 6 gym leaders across the US. Our first gym on the map was ZRT Mapache, home to myself and a world-class black belt, Gabriel Sousa. He's an 80cc medalist and one of the most prominent figures of the 66 kilogram bracket, holding wins over Mikey Musumeci, B-Team's Ethan Krellison, and many other top athletes. Let's see how much damage he can do to a 2-year blue belt. Now before we take on Gabriel, I'll warm up with 2 of my teammates, the first being a dangerous leg locker and fellow blue belt named Colton. As the round starts off, I let Colton sniff my balls and then shoot onto an early triangle choke. I managed to secure an early tap, but Colton isn't going to let that slide as we stand back up to our feet, and after holding hands for a few seconds, he gets tired of my attempted flirtation and hits me with an Uchimata, sending my wrestling career down the drain. I'm feeling a little frisky, so I sit into IDK WTFID guard, which translates to, I don't know what the I'm doing, and I try to enter into a leg entanglement on him, but with such a big skill discrepancy in the leg lock game, he effortlessly avoids my attack. Now I start to work my passing techniques. I sit up in headquarters and make it a priority to control Colton's feet placement. I want a 1 in, 1 out situation with his right hip pinned to the ground and the inside foot being stuffed under my hips. I screw up everything and allow Colton to start inverting into K-guard, so I pull a Gabriel and kick away. You'll see more of that later in the video. I'll then start to attack angles by shuffling around Colton, constantly bobbing his head, and try to become an annoyance. He gets tired of me and tries to wrestle up on a double leg, but I peel his elbows to negate it, and as he falls back onto his back, I use leg pommeling to dodge his leg attacks, moving both feet into the inside position before engaging back into headquarters and shooting onto a knee slice. He'll then attempt to reinsert his knee shield, but my dump truck of an ass along with my deep underhook are making it incredibly difficult, and then after lowering my level chest to chest and securing the pass, Colton immediately looks towards the ghost escape, and by controlling my head positioning, he's able to scoot his hips out from under me and he puts himself back on top. Colton will rise to his feet and then jumps into a knee cut position. He starts underhooking my leg, and because I know what's coming, I'm able to 2-on-1 his ass and buy myself just enough time to take my knee out of imminent danger. We haven't fully escaped yet, so there are some critical things I need to do to stay safe right now. The basic idea is to always keep my toes pointed outward, and as he starts fishing for the heel, I roll and free my knee line from his hips. I'll start to settle my weight down and apply pressure by grabbing his head. Colton regains a butterfly hook, but I prepared for that, and as he opens up his knee, that's my cue to jump onto another blast cut. This time I decide to act like not a white belt and block his hip and grab his head to finish the pass in side control. Colton then surprises me with another sneaky submission, this time with a buggy choke. However, he ends up exposing himself more than Bert Kreischer does on his Instagram and nearly falls victim to an armbar. I quickly learned that he hasn't been skipping arm day and decide to save my energy for more knee slices. Time is sneaking up on us, so Colton goes for one last Hail Mary attack, a diving Kimura. He nearly manages to rip my shoulder off, and I know the only way to stop this submission is by sticking my toes where toes should not go. On my way to doing this, my flexibility disrespects me, so I have to manually push my foot up his ass. After escaping the Kimura, I sit up to my feet and fall into his butterfly guard. Then with some super sick leg pummeling action into headquarters, I jump onto another blast cut, this time entering a position I call Cloud Castle and floating my way into mount. Colton will shrimp onto his side and look to shove my foot into quarter guard. I keep it tight to the pocket of his hip and start to lock up onto a gift wrap. I make him eat the mat before chair sitting onto his back. I try to change attacking sides, but as we fall to the right, Colton springs up into turtle. With time on the verge of expiring, I opt to attack an armbar, but I end up losing control of his elbow due to not doing my Kegels, and Colton manages to free his arm. After a little more flips and dips, we finish the round between my legs, and it's now time to move on to our next challenge, Kino. I know we just met, but already holding hands is a good sign of a long-lasting friendship. He steps into my guard, so I look to elevate him with a kiss of the dragon, but I leave my knee outside, and this time I pay for it with a super deep knee bar, mentally tearing my ACL. We reset and Kino sits to open guard. My goal is to use quick Toriandos to force Kino to over-recover and open up the inside position behind his knees. As I throw the feet to the side, notice how he swings his leg back in, and that's what allows me to play on the inside space of his guard and shoot on my blast cuts. Unfortunately, both times I ended up missing the underhook, preventing it from working effectively. With the outside to inside method not working, I go for the good old step in to finally get to my passing position. I think of Jiu-Jitsu as a game with multiple mini-games. The idea is to force your partner to play your game and stay away from theirs, hence forcing headquarters and counter reactions from there. As I try to white belt mentality through another knee cut, I met with a strong knee shield and dropped down onto a body lock. However, with really piss poor body lock mechanics, Kino starts to whip his leg around to attack an armbar. To prevent this, I control his feet and keep in mind to separate his knees. With the lack of knee pinch pressure, it's going to be incredibly more difficult to finish the armbar, allowing my twig of an arm to free itself unscathed. We start to get a little too close to the edge, and I only have so many brain cells I can lose to smashing my head on concrete, so we scoot back into the middle. I decide to start ramping it up with a flurry of outside Toriandos, before finally seeing the opening I needed and crashing down onto a blast cut. I met with a very strong frame to the face, and Kinyo effortlessly pushes me off of side control. As he starts to entangle my legs, I pinch my knees together to close the space, and then I use a leg pommeling mechanic by kicking forward and back to escape his heel grip. With a little more spaz still in my heart, I cut one way, then on his recovery, I try to knee cut over his entire guard, but alas, he recovers once more. With all my Toriandos and knee slices failing to secure any progression, it's time that I bring out the big guns and jump over for a diving Kimura. In the process of this, I nearly get myself armbarred, but Kinyo abandons it and comes up into a front headlock. He'll start working on a north-south choke, but I can't let that happen right in front of Gabriel, and to defend it, I turn my chin inward towards his ribs, then try to wrestle up. Kinyo sprawls and then leaps onto my back to start working on a rear naked choke. He manages to secure both hooks, but I turn my hips to the floor and break one off to start inching my way out. I'll put Kinyo back into quarter guard before time finally ends, and we move on to face one of the best Nogi grapplers in North Carolina, Gabriel Sousa. Before the camera even has time to turn on, Gabriel is already brutalizing me with the single leg, then whips me to the floor with a nasty throw. He immediately shoots in one hook and starts to attack a rear naked as he rolls on my back. However, because he didn't get his second hook in, I shift my hips flat to the floor, relieving a lot of the choking pressure he needs to finish the submission. Without any regard for my breakfast this morning, he wraps up his bottom leg across my chest for the body triangle. I try rolling out to my left, but Gabriel has his target locked in. No matter where I go, I can't seem to find a way to shake him off. Things really get bad as he wraps around my arm and falls to the side into a position called spiderweb. At this point, I remember that I forgot to take my morning creatine, and after a few tugs on my arm, he yanks my elbow back to secure an armbar. Gabriel wastes no time crashing onto another double leg. This time I'm able to mitigate the damage by sprawling onto his takedown, and he continues to press forward and grabs a single leg. I keep my frame posted on his neck to prevent him from sweeping my far leg, but it's not enough as I try to spin out and Gabriel wraps up on a tight waist. He then makes me look like someone from the kids class as he tramples me over and sits on my back yet again. This time he doesn't allow me any chance of escape and drags my head back to shoot his arm in for a rear naked choke. As we come back up, Gabriel does everyone a favor and sets to guard so I don't have to release any more wrestling clips of me out into the world. Applying my usual strategies, I start to cut angles, and as Gabriel opens up with the Granby roll, I nearly jump onto a super loose knee slice, but because I was so far, he frames away and sits back out into open guard. I disengage as to not get captured in his half guard and move myself in headquarters. From here, I'll go in for another knee slice, but I get caught up in a leg entanglement, and then Gabriel will finish me with a knee bar. We slap and bump, then lace up our hands, and then I start to contemplate whether my next move is a good idea. The fuck it part of my brain gives in, and I dive under his hips, and Gabriel tries to pummel an underhook. I quickly turn my grip into a frame and push him away. From here, I'm met with a world-class frenzy, as Gabriel hits me from every direction. While he isn't committing to a pass yet, he's tiring me out and waiting for the right opportunity to strike. The sweat seems to be on my side today as Gabriel whips around and nearly secures the pass, if it wasn't for my good friend the sweat pedal in the corner helping me escape. It's not enough, however, as Gabriel flips me onto my head, spins around, and latches onto my back and turtle. From the previous exchanges, I'm sure you can predict what happens next, but in this next part, I might finally catch my big break. I feint and shoot onto a single leg. It's time to get Gabriel back for making a fool out of me earlier. At least that's what I thought before he practically cartwheeled out of my single leg. I attempt another shot, but Gabriel gets his underhook, so I relieve my forward pressure as to not get hip tossed and highlighted yet again. I'll then try a piss poor blast double, but Gabriel catches me with my head down, and I meet the hips of God as Gabriel locks up onto a Russian tie. Being at a severe disadvantage, I pull guard to get out of the Russian tie and face Gabriel's passing onslaught once again. To buy myself time to think, I try to always keep my feet pointed inside towards his shoulders, and as he throws them by, I quickly push him away and reweave my legs. I sit up and I nearly get caught as Gabriel dives in for a quick knee cut. Things take a turn when I nearly press the timeout button, but thankfully my foot grazed by. However, as we continue on, I off balance then spin under Gabriel for a kiss the dragon, and then I land a deep nut shot. With time on the verge of ending, I try my hand at passing his guard for the final time today, lowering my level, pressing my chest against his knee, and trying to mitigate the space as I transition from left to right. Finally, I find a good opening as I dive into an underhook. But luckily for Gabriel, the timer runs out and saves him from what would have been a Gordon Ryan 80cc level armbar. If you guys like this type of content, make sure to stick around as I'll be traveling from North Carolina all the way up to Seattle, Washington, dropping in over 6 gyms along the way with some incredible athletes and familiar faces.
Hi.
Don't forget to like and subscribe as I've just settled in Seattle and could really use the support to get YouTube running. Thanks for watching, and next time I'll see you at Maximus Jiu-Jitsu in Chicago, Illinois.